There is a controversy brewing in the retro game space, and it's about a console you probably haven't thought about in a while, if ever. The Sega Saturn, one of Sega's biggest failures in North America, has a very dedicated community of enthusiastic supporters of people who grew up playing this thing. I consider myself one of these people because the Sega Saturn was the very first game console I ever owned. So what's the controversy? It's about something that's been collectively dubbed the Sega Saturn Mini, even though it's not really a mini console at all. So thanks to this little cartridge device here that lets you boot games off of an SD card, it's called a Saru. You don't actually need a lot of the Saturn anymore to be able to run Sega Saturn games on a Sega Saturn. You can do away with the optical drive, you can even trim the board up, you can toss the power supply out for one of the aftermarket smaller power supplies that are available, which is precisely what some sellers on AliExpress have been doing. They have reshelled this extremely trimmed down version of the Sega Saturn that's designed to only work with the Saru cartridge. The general defense seems to be that they're using discarded or broken consoles in order to do this. But because the internet's undefeated, some people have done some sleuthing and they found that one of these Sega Saturn Minis, as they've been collectively dubbed, was actually the board of a very rare Sega Saturn that probably shouldn't have been taken apart for this purpose. So it's kind of clear that the AliExpress sellers aren't being that selective about the Saturns they're choosing for this little project. My initial thought on this was I don't really care that much. I love to mod consoles. I mod almost every console I have. I probably am guilty of butchering many consoles. But the argument that was presented, and that I actually agree with, was that these little mini consoles aren't actually cheaper than just sourcing a Sega Saturn and a Saru. These AliExpress Saturns go for about $130, and that's not including the Saru. If you package the Saru in there, you're probably getting closer to $200. The Saru itself is kind of in a range from $40 to $100 based off whatever seller you buy it from on AliExpress. I'm not going to tell you which one to buy it from because I don't even remember which one I bought mine from. That's not a savings. That's actually more expensive. I looked up a Sega Saturn on eBay, and one of the first results I popped up was a $75 Sega Saturn from Japan. And that was with a whole bunch of other options that were ranging from $70 to, $120. You can source an entire Sega Saturn and a Saru for probably less than what these AliExpress sellers are selling this stripped-down version for. And therein lies the problem. The AliExpress consoles are giving you less for more. So practically speaking, they're not a very good idea. Also, add to the fact that the Saru is not 100% compatible with the game's library. It's pretty good, but there are other optical drive emulators out there for the Saturn that are better. I like the Saru because it spares the optical drive, it's extremely easy to install, and if I ever hit the fucking lottery, maybe I will start collecting physical Saturn games, though fat fucking chance, those prices are obscene. But this is actually a great idea of the shiny new thing that seems like a good idea actually just being a fucking ripoff all around. And truthfully, I'm not that psychotic about preserving hardware. It's been done, most of these consoles are in museums at this point, but I do have my limits, and I think butchering an extremely rare version of the consoles is just stupid.